Do you hear the signal, or just the noise? You don't experience the world directly. You experience it through what you believe. And most of the time, you don't even notice that it's happening. What you see feels obvious. What you think feels natural. What you believe feels true. But what if none of that is as solid as it seems? What if belief is not something you choose, but something that is built? We often talk about beliefs as if they are ideas, opinions, positions, things we agree or disagree with. But beliefs behave less like thoughts, and more like structures. They have weight. They have stability. They shape what can and cannot exist inside your mind. And like any structure, they are built over time. Not all at once. Not consciously. Not even intentionally. Brick by brick. The first bricks are rarely chosen. They are given. Language. Culture. Authority. Early experiences that arrive before you have the ability to question them. You don't decide what is normal as a child. You absorb it. You don't analyze meaning. You inherit it. And because these early layers form before reflection, they feel permanent. Not like beliefs, but like reality itself. A belief does not feel like a belief. It feels like something much stronger. It feels like truth. And that feeling is important, because it creates stability. Without it, every thought would be uncertain. Every decision would collapse under doubt. So the mind does something very efficient. It turns repeated patterns into certainty. The more something is seen, the more familiar it becomes. The more familiar it becomes, the more natural it feels. And what feels natural begins to feel true. But familiarity is not truth. It is only repetition. And yet, the mind rarely makes that distinction. Beliefs are not held together by logic alone. They are reinforced by something deeper. Emotion. Certain ideas do not just exist in the mind. They attach themselves to feeling. Comfort. Fear. Belonging. Identity. And once a belief is tied to emotion, it becomes far more difficult to question. Because questioning it no longer feels like thinking. It feels like loss. To challenge a belief is not just to reconsider an idea. It is to disturb something that has become part of you. This is why some conversations feel impossible. Not because the arguments are complex, but because what is being defended is not just a thought. It is a structure. No belief exists in isolation. Every belief is surrounded by other beliefs that support it. Like beams and pillars, they reinforce one another. A single idea might be fragile, but a system of ideas becomes resilient. This is where repetition becomes powerful. The same message, heard from different sources, across time, in different forms, begins to feel undeniable. Not because it has been proven, but because it has been reinforced. And once reinforcement reaches a certain level, belief becomes self-sustaining. New information is no longer evaluated neutrally. It is filtered. Accepted if it fits. Rejected if it does not. Not consciously, but automatically. Some beliefs are personal. Others are shared. And when beliefs are shared, they begin to form systems. Culture. Institutions. Laws. Traditions. These are not just external structures. They are expressions of belief. Stabilized. Organized. repeated across generations. What begins as an idea becomes a rule. What begins as a perspective becomes a system. And once a belief becomes part of a system, it gains authority. Not because it is necessarily true, but because it is supported. This is where belief and power begin to intersect. Because power does not only enforce behavior, it reinforces meaning. Modern societies often present belief systems as neutral, as if they exist independently of interpretation. But every system is built, and everything that is built can be shaped. This does not mean that all beliefs are false, but it does mean that none of them are untouched by human influence. History shows this clearly. What is considered obvious in one era can appear questionable in another. What is defended as truth can later be reinterpreted. And yet, within each moment, belief still feels stable, still feels certain, still feels real. That is the power of structure. Beliefs do not collapse easily. They resist change. They protect themselves. But sometimes, small cracks begin to appear. A contradiction that cannot be ignored. An experience that does not fit. A question that lingers longer than expected. At first, these cracks are subtle. Easy to dismiss. Easy to explain away. But if they accumulate, they begin to shift something deeper. Not immediately. Not dramatically. But gradually. Because once a belief is questioned, even slightly, it is no longer invisible. And once it becomes visible, it can no longer function in the same way. So why do we hold on to beliefs, even when they hurt us? Because letting go is not simple. A belief is not just an idea you remove. It is a structure you dismantle. And dismantling a structure creates uncertainty. What replaces it? What remains? What changes? These questions are not easy to answer. So the mind does what it is designed to do. It preserves stability, even at the cost of accuracy. Because uncertainty feels more dangerous than error. Certainty is comforting. It simplifies the world. It reduces complexity. It provides direction. But it also limits perception. Because once something is certain, it is no longer explored. And what is no longer explored can no longer evolve. This is the paradox of belief. The same structures that give us clarity can also restrict understanding. The same certainty that provides meaning can also prevent it. So what is a belief? Is it something you choose? Or something that was built for you? Is it a reflection of truth? Or a structure shaped by repetition, emotion, and reinforcement? And if belief is constructed, then what does it mean to question it? Not to reject everything. Not to abandon meaning. But to step back, just enough, to see the structure itself. A belief does not feel like a structure. It feels like reality. And that is what makes it so difficult to see. The world is not only shaped by what is true, but by what we are prepared to believe. So the question is not only what you believe. It is, how was it built? And once you begin to see that, another question appears. If a belief can be constructed, can it also be redesigned? Thank you for watching. This is the Human Pattern Project, where we examine the structures behind human behavior and civilization.